All right. Today, let's talk about. This is pretty common too, by the way. A lot of people end up, um, wondering and ruminating over this particular topic. So I want to share some more in-depth insight in regards to it, and that is, you know, what are the signs that a narcissist realizes that you were the better option, right? Because in a lot of these videos in this community, you hear people, speaking on it. It's kind of surface level, but I want to give a more in depth understanding of it. So, from what I've seen and over the years of doing this, um, and again, I'm only getting once I assess the feedbacks from clients and stuff like that, people who have dealt with narcissists, to give you all uh, the most accurate, educated uh, opinion of the matter, at least. So, one, you have to understand that narcissists are they're illusionists, right? They're masters of illusions. Just think about what I just said. They are masters of illusions, creating false flags, creating perceptions, right? Painting their new supply as a masterpiece. They're masters of illusions, painting the new supply as a masterpiece of perfection, usually, right? And at first, it's an overwhelming intoxication of this new supply, right? They've replaced you, or so it seems. But what happens when the glossy facade fades away? What happens when that fades away? Well, the new supplies and imperfections surface just as yours did. And all of their ways and their inabilities to meet the narcissist's unrelenting need for that admiration that becomes more and more evident in that situation. But here's the secret for y'all, right? And this has just been, I've seen it from a pattern standpoint. It's been pretty pathological across the board with the behavior and the patterns with narcissists. So here's the secret. Deep down inside and deep down, narcissists will always compare you to the new supply, or they're still comparing you. Even though in your mind you think, oh, they forgot all about you. They haven't. You're being compared and possibly used to triangulate or break down the new supply, right? At some point. So initially, the narcissist may go to the new supply and you were all bad. Everything you did under the sun was terrible. Midway through their interaction, right, after the narcissist has love bombed them, has gained a significant amount of control over their mind and their emotions, that flips. Now they're triangulating you with the new supply. And the way they're doing it is they're mentioning you now as the good one. Oh, all of a sudden you weren't so bad. And this is what they're telling the new supply. All of a sudden you did do a lot of things for them. You did make them happy. Right? See, the qualities that made you stand out, your strengths, your empathy, intellect, or even your independence begin to shine brighter in retrospect with them later, especially in these new supply situations. Right? It's a realization basically that hits them pretty much deep in the gut, hits them where it hurts. It hits their egos. A lot of you, the main thing you want to know is how do they feel about that when it all starts to happen in that way? Because make no mistake about it, even though we talk about narcissists not having a type and stuff like that, they're still capable of comparing what was better for them than what wasn't. So how do they feel about it? Um, it's a mixture. It's a mixture, y'all. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's regret mixed with resentment. They won't admit to you that they made a mistake, at least not in a genuine way. But instead, the regrets show up as irritation, you know, and it's more so directed towards themselves. They're irritated, they're mad at themselves. And it's more or less like a thing of how could they have miscalculated? They're the masters of recognizing and seeing all of. How did they miss that with you? How did they overlook that? And this is especially, folks, if you moved on rather gracefully. You know, not a lot of resistance, but you got on with your life and you started doing better. They have to watch, and they do this so that it gives them confidence in their decisions to have to look back and see what you're doing from what you weren't doing. They do that. They have to. They're not going to tell you that they're checking you out or that they're finding ways to get information about you and seeing what you're up to, but they have to do that. Their mind spins with ways to reframe the narrative to preserve their fragile self-image, at least. They have to reframe things all the time. So in comes jealousy and envy. Seeing you thrive, move on, or even unbothered. And I'm telling y'all, it ignites a toxic cocktail of envy and rage in them. That's where that narcissistic rage comes from. You become a reminder of what they lost. See, I want you to understand that dynamic. You start to be, by you moving on and going your no contact and thriving, it hits them harder in the gut about what they lost, because it's a failure. It's not like I realized all the qualities, you were such a great person. It's, for them, it's I failed, I didn't win. You get where I'm coming from? It's more of a thing where they feel defeated. It's not necessarily they're hurt because they had such a good person. It's I got beat. And again, you become a reminder of what they lost. And that loss, they don't want to attribute that to their own flaws. They don't want to attribute that to the way that they mistreated you or the way they were handling you. They don't want to contribute that to any of that. No. It was more or less, in their minds, they have to see it as you were faking with them all along. And that's why they didn't get to see these qualities in you. You were holding this back from them the whole time. You dirty rascal, right? They're thinking all this type of stuff about you. You held all of this stuff back and you could have been. That's why I wasn't able to be the way that I was able to be with you. Because you were holding all of that back the whole time. And that's not the case. They're not looking inward at their flaws and what made this come about. What made it come about was the mistreatment. But they don't acknowledge that. So they go into the restlessness and longing, right? They may experience like that gnawing sense of emptiness, no matter how hard they try to distract themselves with the new source of supply, with different validations and stuff like that, the thought of you still lingers because you represented what they now struggle to replace. Straight up. That's what's going on. You represent now, if you've moved on gracefully, got on with your life, you're doing good, you represent now what they have struggled to replace. Especially if you know what you were to them and you know you were a decent person, you did your best, whatever. Listen, just with normal people, you don't see people just getting together with the right person that's just doing them and treating them well. And a lot of times, narcissists get away and get better treatment by the deception and stuff that they do out of people. So if you are already a good person and you are already someone that would do good for someone, the narcissist got you to give out 10% more. So you were even a better person for them. Even though you would have been that same way with a regular person, they drew more of it out of you, right? So think about that. You don't just replace people like that on a whim. Like you could just find that anywhere. But narcissists are gamblers. They take risk. They feel as though they can. And that's the harsh reality that comes about too, is that they realize that it's not that way, that life doesn't work that way, that the odds just don't play out that way. So the next move, the boomerang effect, right? And that comes in when once the narcissist realize that you were the better choice, don't be surprised if they resurface. This is what we talk about with the hoovering. And don't get it twisted, folks. They may not want you back for love or genuine connection. They want back the control. They want the supply, the validation. See, just as you want validation, here's the duality, folks. They want the same validation back too. They want to know that they were the only ones that can make you feel the way you felt, and you can't get over them. And you want validation to show, dang, I was really a good person to you. I did all of this for you. Didn't I mean something? But there's a stalemate in there. And the stalemate comes from they're never going to accept accountability for the wrong that they did in order for you to go ahead and move forward in your way of expressing and validating genuinely of good things that they may have done. It just doesn't work that way. Right? And again, the hoovering is, where they come with the grand gestures or the subtle, the breadcrumbing and the random texts and reminiscing and of old times, and they're liking posts on your social media, or they put together an apology so well rehearsed, it feels convincing. I mean, they really work on that. They'll work on the script of an apology that feels like it can't be nothing but genuine, right? They'll start triangulating. They'll flaunt the new supply at a certain point. If they weren't showing them, now they're showing them off. They might have took them up to City Trends, got them a couple of little outfits, took them up to Rainbow, got them. Not funny, but I'm just saying, you get my drift. They're trying to make the new supply look presentable to add up to you, and you can see when they're overdoing it and you're still not budging. Then here comes the love bombing 2.0. If they believe that you'll still entertain their return, they'll pull out all the stops. Flowers, gifts, promises. They'll mirror your deepest desire just long enough to retain a foothold in your life again. But the choice is yours at the end of the day. Right? The choice is yours. Their realization doesn't have to become your burden. You have to be understanding that the narcissist tactics equip you with the power to protect your peace and prioritize your growth. Simply put, you know, that's all it is. I mean, at the end of the day. All right. So every situation, here's the thing too, folks. Every situation is unique. And the emotional complexity of these interactions can feel overwhelming. That's a given. You know, you just got to be able to look at the different things. I'll mention another thing that a lot, from what I've seen, a lot of people find frustrating. And oddly validating as well. And that's the moment when the narcissist realizes they let go of someone. Well, they mention it as grade A, right? Extraordinarily, that had a really profound impact on their regulating their ego, right? Because that's all we do is supply for them, right? It is a moment of reckoning for them, but not in the way that you might imagine or that you would typically think about. You know, and I can't stress this, that when a narcissist replaces you, it's rarely about finding someone better. Instead, it's about finding someone who fits their current narrative, someone they believe, how can I say it, like someone they believe that will give them the adoration and compliance and the status and all these things that they crave. But here's the thing about that illusion, right? And with any illusion, they all fade in the end. And over time, the narcissist begins to notice cracks in their new supply. The qualities they once saw ideal might now seem inadequate, annoying, and unfulfilling. This is what I try to get a lot of you to understand. Like, I know it's tough when you're going through it and you see them over on the other side, but they can't show you their downfall. They already feel bad that they made a mistake in judgment, that they messed up, and that they weren't as good as they thought they were. So for a narcissist, admitting they were wrong, even to themselves, is like staring into a blank void. And as they begin to wrestle with truth, I mean, a lot of things they can't suppress entirely. They misjudged you. They took you for granted. You know, all these things. And it burns. It burns. A lot of you might say, how does it do that? They seem to be good because it's a mask. Remember, it's masters of illusions, like I told you from the beginning. It burns because it reflects poorly on their omnipotent self-image. I want you to hold that in mind. They have this all-powerful, this person, this being that they create, and how they view themselves is now. How many of you saw that image of they have a lion in the mirror looking at itself, and then the other side it's just a little kitten, right? It's just a little kitten. Well, that's kind of how it is for the narcissist. And when the narcissist doesn't see that lion reflecting back in the mirror to itself, and it just sees this little cat, it feels puny, pathetic. Doesn't feel as powerful as it did at least. So when these type of things happen, it shrunk them down to the point where they don't feel as, good and confident, and it's not what they've spoken built of themselves gets revealed to not be true within them, and it forces them to have to look at who they really are. And that's where that emptiness, that void, you'll see come into them. It doesn't go away just because someone new stepped in or a new supply. This is why the deeper side to this, I may have to do a part two of this. I don't know. But the deeper side of this is where, when they're with this new supply, why they're constantly referring and looking back to you, especially if that new supply isn't there, and why they try to overly make it work. Because if it doesn't, you become a lot of you think that they miss you in a way, like I said earlier, but you become resented. Because it's like, I should be with that. I should have been able to have that treatment now, today. Because I'm this big lion, right? I'm all powerful. I'm magnificent. I'm all of these things. I should be able to have that. And when the reality of that hits them, that they're still not able to have that, and they're getting less, but you were that. At first they try to deny. This is why they put you down so much. Make it downplay every type of accomplishment or thing that you have going on, because the more that they have to recognize that in you, the more that it shifts away that image of this lion and shows them as a puny little cat. We know they fear losing control. When they see you thriving without them, it terrifies them. The thought of you, see, here's the thing. They thought you would crumble and chase after them or stay hooked on their approval. But your strength and independence shatters that expectation. And it makes them realize they underestimated you. What does that mean? Another loss, another L. What does that reflect to them? That they're a loser. It's really showing what they really are, because they can't hold anything that they should be able to hold if they were genuine and being their real selves. See, what this is reflecting is that when all of this stuff goes wrong, it's only showing that they were, they're everything that they tried to run away from. And they're nothing that they try to display to people. That's why they can't hold on to a relationship. That's why they can't have genuine friendships. That's why they can't ignite and hold genuine love from someone else to them without manipulating and lying. And once you believe, and once you not believe, but see in your mind that the image of this perfect person, or this person that was going to be this perfect lover and all this to you, once you stop seeing them as the big lion in the mirror, and you see them as the little puny cat, right? It's like you're on the other side of the door, and you're hearing this lion roar, but it's not a real lion. They're playing it from, the speaker. And so you got to get in that room though, but you're like, that sounds like a big cat in there. I'm not going in there. But if the door was to, or the speaker was to stop playing, and you start hearing meows behind the door, and then you crack and open the door and you see it's a little cat, you're like, oh man, that's just a little cat. Now you don't even pay him no mind at that point. You go in and do what you got to do. That's the same way for a narcissist. If you were to see and understand who they really are on the inside, you wouldn't even be paying them any mind now. Because you don't have anything. You don't have that person who you thought was all these things. Listen, I'm really dropping some gems on y'all, man. I'm really trying to give y'all a different perspective in depth. I used to didn't go too in depth, but I see that people need the in depthness of and the further emphasis on this topic to go in detail. Not asking for anything. Just show love, subscribe, hit the like button. You know, if you want a one-on-one consultation to go deep into your situation, shoot me an email. It's in the description box. You can go in there and just shoot an email. What? I'm really going in and making you understand, because people get so caught up on this. And if you only knew, if you were only to know, just like the example that I gave, you're nothing but a little cat. What am I tripping about? Because the line, you feel like you have something to fear. You don't want to go again. You don't want to go in there. It's like the movie, The Wiz, it's Wizard of Oz. They run into this Wiz. They're looking for a brain and they're looking for a heart and all of this. All of this stuff these people already had in them, but they were trying to find it in this Wiz. And then when they saw the Wiz, this Wiz was just puny. It wasn't even out to what they thought it was going to be. Again, they try to reclaim you. Once the narcissist connects the dots, realizing that you were the better person, they often swing back around again. Like I said, I stress that their motives are rarely ever rooted in love. It's all about control, validation, and feeding their ego. That's the only thing you have to really drive into your brain every time you deal with a narcissist. It's all about control, validation, and feeding their ego. Everything. When you hear from them, they call you up, you start thinking about them. You think all they want is control, validation, and their egos fed. 3 things. They want control, they want validation, and they want their egos fed. Every time. I've even seen them spin the tail. They'll play victim. That's one of their favorites, to play victim. Tell you how the new supplies wronged them and how they've been suffering. They want your empathy because they know already that you have a compassionate heart. They've lived with it. They've experienced it. And they'll, trust me, they will always use it against you. Another one of the tactics they do is when they realize the false accountability. Yeah. In rare cases, it does happen. The narcissist, if they get desperate enough, may attempt a shallow apology. I didn't realize what I had done until it was all gone. And they might say, all of this, and again, it might sound sincere, but the actions doesn't add up. And this is another thing key to recognizing, folks. These apologies, these things, all of it from a narcissist is everything from them. You have to understand this is a strategized manipulation tool or tactic. Everything. Everything. And here's the truth. No matter how much the narcissist tries to win you back, they're rarely capable of real growth or self-reflection. They may idolize you for that moment, but they haven't changed. The same patterns that drove you apart will eventually reappear again. How does it stay away even with the no contact? Here's the biggest thing I always said is their tactics and everything that they do, it fails when you've done the inner work. When you've built boundaries, when you've reclaimed your own self worth and committed to never settling for less than you deserve, that power all lies with you. It lies with you. And then when a narcissist comes back, as they often do, the choice is yours, which is another position of power where you have the leverage. Will you let them rewrite your story and all your progression? Or will you stand firm and go on with your life building without them? You've already proven your strength by walking away or surviving their chaos. Now that the biggest question is, how you gonna channel that strength moving forward? All right. I'm not saying that after the aftermath of being done with a narcissist in a relationship, um, and moving forward is easy. I'm not saying that. The emotional confusion, the lingering trauma, and all of the manipulative tactics they pulled on you can leave you feeling stuck. It definitely can. But, if you want to make that change and go through it, apply yourself, invest in your own healing. But I hope I broke down and gave a more in depth how narcissists feel when they realize that you were the better option. Anyway, thank you for listening. Till next time, have a good one.